call this meeting in order. Please rise for the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Troy, you get it working?
Well, I'm hoping.
I need to
I don't know
give you
why
a few
it got-
minutes.
Go ahead for this stuff.
Alrighty. Item 3, any citizen desiring to be heard? Hearing none. Item 4, consideration and possible action to approve minutes of July 31st and August 3rd, 2020.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes. Second.
I have a motion and a second. I would like to vote aye on the July 31st, and I'll abstain on the August because I was not present at the meeting.
Aye.
So with that
Aye.
being said, aye or an abstain.
Mr. Chairman, without objection, see tell all the folks for item 20 are here early. We put it on the back of the list to allow folks from Oklahoma City that had to travel, a little extra travel time to get here. So without objection, I'd like to move that forward in the meeting agenda so we can not tie up these folks' time all day.
Yeah, I'd second that.
Alrighty, item 20. Discussion with representatives of ODOT, Senator Hall, and engineering regarding concerns of Coltrane Phase 3 project and other issues concerning the Logan County CIRB 5-year plan. Alrighty.
All right, so I guess I'll kick this off. Our engineer was supposed to be here today. I'm not sure whether he got confused in the email shuffle that went back and forth, but I do have the correspondence that we've talked about, and I will. Here you go, sir.
I was going to give them to have copies.
Yes, yes. And let me throw one down here to each of you. So what we've looked at and what we've discussed, and I know there's been a lot of back and forth, and I've got your letter here as well. So I've been trying to figure out a way to get that first mile of Coltrane done a little bit earlier, because I mean it is absolutely falling apart, and it costs both District 2 and District 1, because that's a district area mile line where we share that road. So it's costing us a fortune in keeping it patched, and it's just, like I said, it's gone and crumbling. So the goal of most county commissioners, especially in areas like that, is to get the road fixed, and the goal of the people that live there is to get the road fixed as well. That honestly, I think what has been done on the north 4 miles of Coltrane is nice, but I'm not really sure that we needed a super highway through there, and most of the residents really kind of agree with that as well. So what the residents in that part of Logan County need, is the ability to have the road fixed in kind of a relatively short time. Relative to us is, 5 years is not really a short time to people driving over potholes, right? So I ask, one of the things we also have talked about, all of us, is the ability to do these projects to meet the expectations of the people that live there, and using the least amount of resources we can, money, time, and other resources. And so I've been looking at that ever since I've been trying to get federal grant money for all of the Coltrane Road project when I first took it over. So there was 5 miles there, and kind of bring everybody up to speed. There was 5 miles there, and I went to ACOG and reapplied for federal funds, because at that time that's kind of how the SERB project was being seen, as you guys use it for the 20% match, SERB, and go apply for federal grant funds, and we can get it. At that time there was a lot of federal money that was available apparently. About the time I got elected though, all that tap got turned off. Okay, so the availability went downhill. So I've been trying to figure out how to do this Coltrane Phase 2 project with a little bit less money, because here's our engineers right now. I do.
You guys, sorry about
No, sir. No worries. We just got started. Haven't talked bad about you yet. You guys did a great job for us. Thanks. So, as a matter of fact, I was just about to get into that. So I contacted our engineers and asked them to look at that first mile to see if we could do something other than the 3-lane curb and gutter, because honestly I think we all agree that a 3-lane curb and gutter road is probably one of the most expensive things you can build next to an elevated roadway, right? So looking at trying to be frugal, not only with our SERB money, with tax money, but knowing that we've also got some other projects that we need to fund in our SERB plan. The ability to save a little money was good. So I asked Dale to go look at that. They came back with to re-engineer it to county standards with 12-foot lanes and anywhere from 4-foot to 2-foot shoulders, which is in the county design guide, I guess. Was the cost to re-engineer was $75,000. So I wrote them back and asked them to go look at that and give us an estimate. They looked at the ADT, and it's on page 2 there, and talked about how to fit those in, right? And so I asked them to go ahead and put both of those designs together with a cost estimate based on not only the engineering, the pay items for construction, but also to add the $75,000 re-engineering and $6,000 for resurveying, because of course the survey being as old as it is, that would need to be resurveyed, because we want to make sure that we don't run over any utilities that got missed again with that north 2 miles of Coltrane Road. I think we can all appreciate that being re-looked at again. So they did that on the 3rd page. They came back with 2 cost estimates, and with the re-engineering and survey fee for the 2-foot shoulders was $1.9 million construction fee, approximately $2 million, right? And with the 4-foot shoulders, it adds a little bit to it at $2,115,000. So that's something that we would like to look at, and with y'all's help, we would appreciate doing that, because if we can save, the next page is the program resolution that was sent out, which is a little bit less than what the pay item for the project is. So the current estimated cost is $3,500,000, so $3.5 million. If we can get it done for around $2 million construction with the re-engineering cost, that allows us to take that $1.5 million that's desperately needed for the I-35 interchange. I mean, we could possibly move that up to the construction date of, to coincide with the construction going on there, and get that thing knocked out. And that's kind of what I was looking at. And that would also give the folks on Coltrane Road there that live there a great road that's going to last them 20 years. I understand the desire to look out 25 or 30 years in the future and imagine what things might be like, you know, at that point. But it's very, very difficult to have a crystal ball. That the people that are driving over potholes now, you say, well, if you wait just another couple of years, we'll have this done, and it'll last for 50 years. I mean, that's not really an answer that they're willing to accept right now. What they really want is a road that's going to last them for another 15, 20 years, and I think we can do that with the redesign, as long as it fits the county design guide. And I want to say one last thing on that, and then I'm going to turn it back to the chairman. On the county design guide, I understand that there are federal requirements when we accept federal funds, but when we're just talking about a straight up cooperative agreement between the state and the county, and we're getting funds from the state, I think sometimes we hold our feet to the fire so close that it actually burns the feet of the county commissioners down here. I think that we should try to figure out a way to work together a little more on that. And what I mean by that, the total cost for Coltrane, by the time we get it all finished, is going to be somewhere around $12 million for 5 miles of road. I mean, my gosh. We could have built a 5-mile road with, you know, a 6-inch slab, 12-foot wide, 4-foot shoulders, for a little less than that. Actually, a lot less than that. There's a lot of roadways. I think Mike's probably got 15, 20 miles anyway. I know I've got at least that much. Monty's got several miles of asphalt road that need to be deep patched and overlaid. I mean, we're having a really tough time keeping up with maintenance of what we've already got. Really love getting a $12 million 5-mile road, but you guys are going to give it to me and say, now you got to maintain it. Well, it's not going to break down in my career, right? I get that, but I'm going to pass it along to a county commissioner that's going to continue to get not enough money to maintain it over the long haul, and so that's kind of my major concern. I just want us to look at how we can reduce the cost of that first mile. The 3-lane curb and gutter, I know there's a lot of folks that have said, well, that was requested by a commissioner, and other folks will say, well, that was ODOT county government, you know, wanted that done, and I don't know what the issue was, and at this point it's not that important to me. What's important to me is that we can all sit down and work together to do what's best for the taxpayers and get them the best road we can. With that, I'll turn it back to the chairman.
Shelley, would you like to respond?
I would, thank you, Chairman. So the first thing I heard you talk about was the ability to bring this project to fruition in the shortest amount of time possible. And in my opinion, we have 65% plans. We've done a NEPA on it, a NEPA checklist.
Could you explain what NEPA is? I know what it is.
The environmental, maybe. It's the NEPA requirements that we have to go through to get, you know, our projects through a letting. That's saying that we're looking at the environmental issues when we're constructing a project.
No burrowing beetles, no endangered species there, that sort of stuff.
Sure.
Right, floodplains, that kind of stuff.
Right.
Okay.
So right-of-way has been purchased. If I'm understanding correctly, 4 parcels were purchased, 23 temporary easements were purchased. So basically a completion of the plans would get you where this project could be led. And I haven't looked specifically at utilities. I'm looking at a 65% set of plans. So obviously utilities are a concern. What I would say is that when you're looking at overall costs, that we look at total cost, total project cost. And although your construction cost may be less to do a 12-lane, 4-foot shoulder, obviously it would be, But to address the drainage, you have to create the side slopes. And I think the footprint will be larger than the right-of-way that you have, which will require you to go back and purchase more right-of-way.
Yeah, our engineers disagree with that analysis.
Okay, and that's fine. That's one of the conversations we need to sit down
Right.
and have. All I'm asking is that when you're saying the project cost will save 1.5 million, I ask you to look at total cost. The county road design guide is, shows a 5-foot minimum shoulder, but with the ADTs as they are, we go to the ASHTO design.
So, yeah, can you explain that just a little, in a little greater detail? What does that mean, and is that a requirement, or is that a agency suggested thing?
That is a nationwide accepted practice, a recommendation based on engineering judgment that's been developed.
Okay, so
Years.
it's a subjective call then?
It is a nationwide accepted
Rather
guide.
than an objective, this is the way it has to be done?
Right.
Okay.
And I'm not telling you that what you guys are proposing isn't, I mean, I don't want to direct your design. I do want to sit down and
Yeah, I
have a
understand that, but
conversation.
I think there's been some confusion surrounding the county design guide,
Mhm.
and that's kind of where I'm going with this. And the county design guide is just that, it's a guide.
It is.
Right? And so when I talk to our engineers about what can we do to reduce the footprint and the overall cost, we're looking at the overall cost. What can we put in the existing footprint is how I put it. What can we put in the existing footprint that's been put in there? And meet the requirement of the people that need to drive on there, and meet the requirements of the county design guide. Those were the 2 parameters that I put on there, right? Actually 3 parameters, but yeah, I think one of the things that is kind of annoyed me a little bit, not from you, but in the past, was that county design guide was used like rock candy out of a slingshot, and this is how you're going to get fed the county design guide. We told you this is the way we interpret it, and this is the way it's going to get done. And there was no back and forth, no iterative discussion. And that's all I want to start today.
Sure.
Is an iterative discussion on how we can move forward and put the best road together, the most cost effective. And my number one priority is not getting it done quickly. It's getting it done right for a good cost for the taxpayers. And I really do appreciate y'all being here today. Go ahead. I didn't mean to
No,
interrupt, but
it's all
NEPA
good.
was. No, a lot of this is on camera, as you well know. The folks that are watching don't understand some of our acronyms. That's why I asked.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So I feel like I work for an agency whose mission statement, the very first thing they talk about is safety. So I feel like when you're talking about settling on a design, we don't need to make safety a business decision. So I feel like when you're making your engineering judgment, that has to be part of the picture. I did do some traffic counts. The section closest to Waterloo today is over 3,900. It looks like the housing addition as you get towards Simmons, it drops to about 1,800.
That coincides with what I've got as well. Yeah.
Right. So that tells me that housing addition has a lot of traffic in and out.
It also tells me that there's a tag agency and a bank right there, right off that. And so if you're measuring just from that intersection, the way to capture for the housing addition, and I appreciate what you said, is to move the counter back past those little businesses right there on the corner, right? So, but if you just put the counter right there on the corner, you can get all the gas station traffic and all that stuff that floats around that intersection. But yeah, there are quite a few people that live in that housing addition, but there are points of egress and ingress to that addition on Simmons Road and Center Road. So they get in and out all 3 directions. And so it's, I mean, when you look at what I call the morning and afternoon breath, the inhale and exhale, or the exhale and the inhale, right, of those additions, you know, we always look at how much traffic goes in which direction. And if we were really going to do a traffic study on that, we would put counters at the entrances and exits of Coltrane, Simmons, and Sooner Road, all of those, and measure ins and outs of that. I understand and I appreciate what you're talking about, but we've got several other housing additions that are in there, and that's a big growing area. And when Coltrane Road gets fixed, that north 2 miles this year, when that gets completed, that is going to be more developed. I mean, y'all know as well as we do, anytime you put asphalt down on a road, it's going to start, development's going to start happening all over. That's going to blow up. So anyway, go ahead, ma'am.
It's okay. So when I talk about safety, I think that has to be part of the discussion. And I counted over 40 ingress and egress on that 1 mile section. As you stated, most of the development is to the east. So when the west side starts to develop, I can expect there'll be 60 at least. Those are conflict points. Those are opportunities for accidents. And I also pulled an accident study. The majority of the accidents are rear ends and turning movements where people are trying to turn. So that tells me that is something that needs to be considered. And ODOT didn't direct the 3-lane, you know, before your time, before my time. I really can't speak to that. I think it's a good design. Curb and gutter is absolutely the most expensive because you are addressing the drainage. But I drove Coltrane last week, and what I noticed is a lot of cracking that to me is due to no proper drainage. The drainage isn't getting off the road, the drainage is saturated in the subgrade. So when you go to fix the road, drainage has to be addressed. So you can either do that.
That's in the 12-foot 2-lane design is to fix the drainage.
Yeah. I would not recommend, and this is the discussion that we can have, but you have a 4-mile section of Coltrane that's 12-foot lanes, 4-foot shoulder with a lower ADT, and now you're going to increase the ADT and minimize the lanes. Again, I think it boils down to a safety. Engineering judgment, we can certainly have the discussion. I just want to compare apples to apples and oranges to oranges.
Right, so the oranges up north, that north 4 miles was over-engineered, okay, for the needs of the area. So if you want to compare, you know, having a big, nice road coming into a choke point, you know, there may be something to that, but there's also areas that go over to Center. Center Road catches a lot of that traffic as well. But the point is, when it comes down to safety of county roads, who's responsible for that?
That would be you.
Okay. There you
go ahead.
No, I mean, no,
okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I just.
So let me. I have a YouTube video too. I encourage you to Google it. It is Project Ignition, Ada High School, Shelley Williams, and it's a story about a young man, 16-year-old child, driving on a county road, dropped a tire off, overcorrected, lost control of his vehicle, lost his life. 1,200 people attended that funeral. That represented an entire community who says safety matters, and it shouldn't be a business decision. I'm just saying,
yeah,
it has to be a consideration.
I understand, and that's a terrible accident and a heart-wrenching story, and thank you for sharing it. However, I would also, you know, when we talk about safety matters, I've spent a lot of time in security in a past life, right? And I've been around a lot of security engineers, IT security engineers, network security, that sort of stuff. And the thing that I've noticed about engineers, which I really love about them, is if you give a bank vault security engineer unlimited resources and say, I've got a $100 bill and I need this $100 bill secured so it can't be stolen, he will gladly design you a $5 million vault to store your $100 bill in. So there is a cost benefit to safety. And unfortunately, with limited resources, if we had unlimited resources, we would build everything as safe as we could. We put rubber bumpers on all the guardrails. I mean, there's a lot of things that we could do. But we don't have unlimited resources. And I appreciate the story, and it's, I mean, we haven't had that many accidents on Coltrane Road there. I mean, you said you run the numbers. How many accidents you had there?
So
In the
our
last 5 years?
Well, and
4
it's
years?
5 years. It is a 5-year study, but
Right.
2019 hasn't been completely reported. There were 10 accidents, no fatalities, thank goodness.
Right.
But they are 70% are things that would be
Right.
prevented
Did you-
with the left turn lane.
Did you run the numbers for Waterloo Road?
No, sir, you had me on this mission.
Okay, but I mean, when we're comparing apples to apples and oranges to oranges, right? So, I mean, that's one of the busiest roads in Logan County, well, Logan and Oklahoma County, right? It's absolutely where almost all the accidents, percentage happen. And so, it doesn't surprise me a bit that just a little bit off Waterloo Road, one of the busiest roads, we've got some non-fatality accidents.
Sure.
Every one of our feeder roads, Sooner Road, all of those are gonna have those non-fatality accidents. I mean, I can't go back, I mean, unless we get plussed up to the tune of about $5 million extra a year, which ain't happening, we're not gonna be able to make safety the number one concern when we're doing that. Safety is a concern to us, and the safety of our vehicles, our front ends and our tires and our rims and things like that. There's a study done recently where there's about $1,200 a year in an unfunded tax, if you will, because of the condition of roads on the people that drive on our roads. And that's in the Oklahoma City metro area, about $1,200 a year in auto repairs that they have to do because the roads are in terrible shape. What we want to do is make the roads where they're not beating up our folks' cars, and that's the number one safety concern that we have. The next one, we've got several intersections where we need traffic control. We need some stoplights, and we need some lights like that. Those are very expensive. We can't afford that right now either. So I do appreciate what you're saying about safety, but it's not something that we're going to be able to address unless the funding increases for that. And maybe through ACOG we can readdress how federal safety funds are given to local communities, because the counties get excluded in those things quite often. I mean, our projects go to the bottom of the list. But I appreciate what you're saying. Go ahead.
So Shelley, in your opinion, this design won't fit in the footprint that we have? Is that what your
That is what I
your
believe.
opinion?
That, and I talked to Dale last week about trying to run that typical section over the survey, the current survey that he has. I don't feel like the verticals will be too far, but I mean, you can better speak to the right-of-way needs and the utility needs that'll be addressed. Like you said, the big deal is to open the conversation. ODOT didn't direct the 3-lane. I could see us making that 2 11-foot lanes and a 12-foot. We could minimize that a little. And then I'm thinking about maybe just doing curb and gutter in the area where you'd possibly be impacting right-of-way. You know, you don't want to start buying people's houses. That drives the cost pretty significant. Willing to sit down and talk to you and your design engineer about some of the possibilities. I feel like there's a lot of utility impacts that have to be looked at. Those are costly.
Oh, trust me, I know about that. When you start trying to put telephone poles on top of high-pressure gas lines twice, yeah, it gets not only costly, but it delays the project for several years when that happens.
Yeah. They've actually, hats off to you and the contractor out there and Ira.
Yeah,
They've really worked around to make that work, and
I really want to give the kudos to Ira Barrow.
Yes, he's done a great job.
He's a great project manager
Yes.
out there. Right.
Yeah, I'm glad they were able to work through some of those issues in a timely manner and a little more cost effective. I think they really considered that.
So if
Be
you
happy
don't
to
mind,
talk.
Yeah, I've got a question for Dale. Are we going to spend more money trying to reinvent the wheel than what we would be just moving fourth on the project?
More money? No, I don't think so. We can take a look at it real quick, just like Shelley said. If we want to utilize our existing survey information, we can go in and look at the elevations of the roads and take the existing information we got now and just say, is it a possibility or not? I think it is. I know Shelley don't think it is, but we won't know until we actually get pen to paper.
Right.
Okay, that's just how
No,
we are.
absolutely.
And if we open up the discussion, I think that's all Mr. Goodman is asking for. Let's go take a look at it. Let's see what's possible.
Now, Dale, if I may.
You bet.
Have you looked into the utilities having been moved down there? Because the way I remember things, we had an awful lot of work done by O&G. The very last one to do any work along there was AT&T. And they buried new lines under all those little roads that are going, into the additions. And so my understanding of that first mile is that it is shovel ready for the curb and guttings in the 3 lanes. But I do agree with Mr. Goodman, Commissioner Goodman, that the citizens there are wanting a good, safe road now. And they are sick and tired of all that road collapsing. Also, the water rolling over the road and going over there to the businesses that are on the east side have serious issues just with the way the drainage is going there, and it does garbage up the road, of course. So I'd like for you, if you would, anyhow, at least on my side of the aisle, just make certain that we do have utilities be moved there, that this project is not shovel ready yet. It still needs continued work, even if we do the Super 2 lanes in there. So if you would, I'd appreciate that. I also had a question, Shelley. We made an agreement back in 2012 on the use of SERB money for that first mile of road. It was a SERB agreement. And in there, if we did not follow the design that was put in there, that we would lose all SERB funding. So what I'm looking at is the contingent of that. Obviously, if we have an agreement with you that a 2-lane would suffice, well then that would be, I think, part of that agreement, and we would not lose our SERB funding. So anyhow, I'd appreciate if you'd look at that.
Yeah,
I do have a copy of that somewhere.
It is ultimately your roadway.
Yes.
I'm not trying to direct your design, but when we're looking at these, we are tasked with helping to make the best decision. And it's not my engineering judgment, it's AASHTO, it's our county road design guide, and those aren't just, it's a guide, but it's the national standard, and it's based on accident history, it's based on drainage. Like you said, drainage matters. It matters a lot.
I think one of the things that goes along with what you just said there is it is a guide. And I think what we've seen, especially in the days of COVID-19 and some other things, there's been some attempts to mandate a one-size-fits-all response from the federal level all the way down to local communities. And we all know that doesn't work, right? Mm-hmm. And that's why guys like us rely on guys like them that go out and build roads every day, design roads, and the folks that actually do the construction. We rely on them to go out and look at the specific road that we're talking about. What can we do here that makes sense? And the design guide, again, is just that. But a one-size-fits-all won't work. And you don't know how much I really appreciate you coming here and saying that you're not here to tell us what we're going to do, because that hasn't always been the case, in my humble opinion.
But I do have to use good engineering judgment.
We all do, but
yes.
At the end of the day, what I've heard you say is it's our choice. And we're going to make a decision based on what's best for the people, what's most cost effective. We don't want to delay the project at all. I don't believe that this would, after talking with our engineers, but those are all conversations that we will have going forward, and I appreciate that. Molly, what else you got?
I just need to know, what do we need to do as a Board of County Commissioners to get this ball rolling?
Well, I think it starts with your engineer. I don't think we can move forward until we actually have the cost data. You can say that's, but we are going to look at overall cost, and it will be your choice, your direction. But I can't, I can't say that we are not going to look at the safety issues that they have to be a consideration. We have more and more inexperienced drivers on the roadway every day. Inattention is the leading cause of wrecks. You won't get the opportunity to rebuild this road for a long time. Today is the day to make the change, if it needs to be made. And I just ask you to consider that.
I think safety ought to be looked at as well,
Yes.
but I mean, we gotta use good judgment all the way around, so.
Okay.
All right.
Any other questions of me?
I do not have any myself.
No.
Just
Yeah, go
based
ahead.
on what I heard, if y'all don't mind. So I guess to narrow it down so it's really understandable at the layman's lane, did you just say that ODOT does not have the ability to dictate a project with SERB funds and the design and the direction? ODOT cannot stop the county from proceeding in the manner the county chooses?
I wouldn't say that, because by statute, we do have a responsibility. We are guiding that. It is not our desire to be directing your design.
Okay.
We want
But
that.
ODOT can stop the use of SERB funds on this project if you don't agree with the design.
I would say that.
That's really.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it. Rick Johnson, Director of Capital Programs. I don't think that we're gonna all get to a point where we're gonna have to, ODOT's gonna step in and make a decision on this design. I think we're all here today as a testament that we're gonna work together.
And I understand that, but just sitting here listening, I picked up both sides of that coin being said. That, oh, well, it's up to the county, they get to choose the design and they can do it their way, but we're gonna, so I guess historically, we've always been told through various sources that when it came to the SERB plan, ODOT had the final say and we had to do what ODOT said or we couldn't use SERB funds for a project. So I just was trying to get it clear if that in fact is the case, that ODOT has the final say on a design and how a project is done to allow the use of SERB funds.
Once again, we're charged with the administration of the program by the legislature, and we're gonna continue to work through making sure that all of the expended funds are administered in a way that's commensurate with the statutes that are around there, which require us to work together inside of sound engineering practice. So I do not believe that we're ever going to get to a point where ODOT's going to yank funding
Okay.
because we're so far apart on our engineering judgment. Even in this case, I do think that we're all going to sit down and talk through all the details. We don't have the surveys today to be making any assertion to how that impacts the utilities in the right of way. And that's generally what you get into when you're talking about adding a curb and gutter section as opposed to an open section in this environment. So at the end of the day, we're going to talk through those. I appreciate the email chain that you provided, because that's the first opportunity we've seen at some of the conversation leading into the decision makings. I like the fact that the county design guide is a minimum requirement, and it only covers up to 2,500 ADT, and that's why we've stepped into looking at some additional guidance, national guidance, that covers that kind of facility, right? So, all of those things go into making the appropriate decision for those particular roads, right? So, I would like the chart 7.3 that you pointed out in your email. I do like the sub-point B, but I believe it's addressing just the paved section and not the grading section of the road. So, we got to work through all those details of what those recommendations might be. Because I think that, just with having looked at the previous 4 miles, regardless of a 5 foot, 8 foot, 2 foot typical section, you acquired a lot of right-of-way. And I think that was the impetus of the original design that you've got, is to limit the impacts to the people in the community there and the volume of ingress and egress out of there, primarily being driven by those rear-end accidents because of the vertical challenges that you've got. So I think there's a lot of opportunity once we get the surveys and we can sit down. But these are things that we can expedite quickly and prosecute in a manner that we all feel is, sound engineering practice. Ultimately, ODOT will make a recommendation of what we feel based on those parameters for you guys to consider. But ultimately, the engineer of record will stamp those plans, and we'll go from there. So.
My main goal is to get this project done so I never have to say Coltrane again.
Amen. So
It's been a long time.
Mr. Chair, if you would, I do appreciate the opportunity to come here and talk, because I know that when we get together and we talk on the same page about the same things, that's when, all of the leveraging funds and the partnerships, we can do great things for, the community. So, appreciate the opportunity to come and talk. And, at the end of the day, I think that we all collectively will get to a position where we can make a good decision on the project. So at the end of the day, we're not going to say, do you need to do curb and gutter, do you need to do an open section? There's a lot of pluses and minuses to those things, and we're going to leave it to the commission to decide on what does that mean. But right now, I think the significant challenge that we have is we've got to know what the right-of-way impacts would be before we do any other thing.
So I think we all agree that spending the $6,000 to have it resurveyed is a good thing
Paramount.
to do. Okay. So I think that's a great way to start and identify the utilities, and then we can continue the discussion. I appreciate that.
What could we do today to help expedite any of that?
Well, I just wanted to go over thanks for publishing the sort of 5-year plan. I took our excerpt out of that. That's on the last page that you guys got, that everybody had. Our first project up is Phase 3 of Coltrane in fiscal year 2022, the next fiscal year. So what we're talking about today will not delay this if we decide to go ahead with the current plan in hand and the pay items, although those pay items are probably going to need to be updated to current figures, and which is going to escalate this number of $3.5 million, right? So that's something else that we probably need to look at as well. We've got 4 items on our 5-year plan here that total 9.7, or on serve $9.1 million. One of the things that we've kind of struggled with over the past few years with the legislature needing to borrow money out of the serve bucket was, at one time we had a total number to work with over 5 years, right? So you've got this much money to work with on your 5-year plan. That go put a plan together that lives within that budget. We're used to living within the budget. We don't have that anymore, and so I can do the math well enough to know that our equitable share of the SERV program out of Division 4 is a little less than $9.1 million over a 5-year term. So those are things that I want to discuss in the long term as well. And I know that those are things that y'all like for us to discuss at CED meetings. I also represent the county now at CED 5.
Congratulations.
But thank you. But I will tell you that those conversations never happen at CEDs or our CED. Never. Those conversations never happen because kind of like between county commissioner divisions, right, or our regions. I don't get involved in Monty's roads, what goes on there. I don't get involved in Mike's roads. They don't get involved in mine. We kind of draw the line there, and we work our own system. Now, when we come together as a board and talk about money, that changes a little bit on what we're going to do. But just like at CEDs, there are no counties that are going to come in there in CED 5 and tell Logan County that they can or can't do something with you. So they just don't have those discussions. So if that's an implied tasking, then we need to have a discussion about that as well, right? And which is another reason why I really appreciate y'all coming to our meeting today, because this is where those conversations happen. They really don't happen at CED meetings.
I would encourage you, as a board member, if those conversations are important to you and your board, you can initiate them, and I encourage that. You certainly have a voice.
Well,
So what do we need to do to get this survey done? Is that up to,
Just direct us to do it. We'll go get some proposals and get it done.
I move we offer, no?
There was no action on
No
this
action?
item.
All right.
just
We'll get
get it
you a
done?
proposal.
It's just discussion. Okay, we'll discuss you doing it. How's that?
That's fine.
Okay.
With, I mean, you guys write the checks for CERB, right? So, I mean, the money's in the bank with you guys authorized. So that you're okay with them doing the resurvey?
Absolutely. I feel like we need to have the most current information to make a very good
Okay.
decision.
Then
So-
we can leave it to them to work that out.
Yeah, I'd like to, hey, next week you got a bridge letting, or
Mhm.
I should have a project. What
Yes.
day is that next week?
Is that the 12th?
The 12th.
The 12th, yeah.
Is that this?
Yeah, I should have a JP
No, that
31,
would be-
No, it's the
25.
12th.
It's not the
It's-
12th.
Because that was the.
Yeah. The 19th maybe?
It don't matter, but it is next week.
It is.
Mr.
It's
Chairman, we'll
coming
get
up.
that date back to you. It is next
That's
week.
exciting.
Yeah.
Then, Bonnie, I got one other question on here, on the CERB 5-year plan, and it has to do with one of Mike's projects. And it jumped out at me, and maybe I knew about this before, Mike, but this was just kind of jumped out at me. On the Luther Road project, 2 miles north of, to Charter Road, I guess it's off Waterloo Road, yeah. The CERB money is almost $2.8 million. And then there's another funding source here of $654,000.
Correct.
What is that?
That's a STP that was designated by CED5 some years ago, specifically for those bridges. At the particular time, they asked if we could pursue an STP to supplement the CERB program there on Luther Road. And so that has been designated for the distribution in 2024. So having had that, then now the grade drain as surface has also been, well, no, it is on 25. So I would assume it would be after those bridges, the year after those bridges are replaced.
The whole thing, this is in 2024 money.
2024, and then in 2025, we have, wait a minute, 24, I'm sorry, looking on here, it is 24, I apologize.
No apology necessary.
Okay, so the
just curious.
STP is designated for 2024.
So that's something I need to check on at CED5 to make sure the money's still there? or-
You may if you want to, I have already checked on that, but you're more than welcome to check on it as well.
Well, I mean, this is a board action,
Correct.
right? So,
Correct.
I mean, and
Correct.
represent the board, I'd like to make sure that we don't come up short on you, or, you know, or whoever.
Well, that was a board action, I think, back in 16, 17, somewhere in there.
19,
When,
17.
well, when the action was actually taken by the CD5. It was somewhere in that period of time, I can't remember exactly. But anyhow, that's when that money was designated for Logan County. It does a round robin thing, you know.
Yeah, I understand, but
Okay.
I've seen that list, and I haven't seen this on the list, was the reason I asked.
Oh, I see.
And
Well, you're-
I will
Okay.
check on it.
Yeah,
All right.
please do.
I just want to make sure. it's
So
there.
those STP funds, that is the 28 million that is allocated to the counties, the federal funding. That dollar amount was 26 million due to the cost of bridge inspection. Secretary Gatz made the commitment to add an additional 2 million to that from here on out. So those funds, that is part of those STP funds. And I think each CED does it a little bit differently, but that particular CED just lumps those annual funds together, and then I think, like you said, gives them to, lets a county, instead of applying a small amount to numerous projects, it's a larger amount to have a greater impact, so.
That's right. All right, thank you.
Well, I certainly appreciate y'all
Thank
coming.
you. Thanks for inviting us, I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Look forward to talking to you. All right, good to see you, Stephen.
Thank you.
Eric, how you doing?
Thank you.
Anybody else got anything on this subject?
No, sir. I do know that, I want to thank Senator Hall for being here today as well. There's another issue that I think that, as far as the legislature goes, and this is off topic a bit, so I think you and maybe Troy, our county clerk, should get together. There's an issue with reward systems that I think Troy wants to talk to you about, and I would also help want to sponsor some legislation to kind of, I know you're going to find this hard to believe, but there's 3 different reward systems and they all have conflicting. You wasn't prepared?
I was prepared.
Well, good for you. But anyway, if you get a chance to look over that, some of it tell direct what the judges do and what, how the reward system's reimbursed, and other ones are very light in that, and so it's, what we're looking for, I think, is to kind of make it all the same, if we can, and it's just clarification legislation. It's not changing anything, really.
Troy's actually already talked to me about this.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, that's all I got.
All right. You all's more welcome to hang out, or you can do whatever you like.
I'm taking the pass. How about you?
I think we're gonna stick around. It's Friday, he's headed out. Senator, can you indulge me for 60 seconds?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Sidebar.
yeah. Okay. So,
Thank you, Gail.
recording.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. Have a good one.
And one's about litter and one's on the other. And the one that we're really curious is this one, because this is for the defacing and vandalism.
So we can, I think we can jump into item 6, that you have up there sitting there waiting on us.
I just need to say.
Yeah, we need to talk about that. Yeah. Did you make donuts today? So I know.
I'll get it in writing.
This is.
Okay, you got it.
Good, Tom.
Thanks.
Thank you, board. Thanks for the insight.
Thanks for coming. Yeah.
It's great to do.
I'm gonna need you.
Oh, I thought that-
I'm
okay.
gonna sit down
All right,
with you to.
back to item 5, consideration and possible action on approving the final plat of Indian Section 2 in the southwest quarter of 2915 1 West.
This is a Dan Minder's plat. He does a lot of construction in District 2. He wasn't able to be here today, he brought the plat in. We've looked at it. I told him that I would cart it in here for you all today, since he couldn't. And up those upper corner is the commissioners.
Where does it talk about roads?
They always put them in different places, but we know it's there. I can get on this camera.
Dan's pretty good at that. putting it
Yeah.
on there.
Haven't seen it.
Yeah, that's that next portion of that turtle field to the back portion. Portion.
Don't know, spine it.
It's,
Indian Ridge streets are private and shall be maintained by the Property Owners Association.
That's how it goes
Okay. I'm good with it then.
I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, the motion carries. Get it first, Lars.
Okay, I'll let you.
Just 2 copies? Is that this one?
Is that what you read?
Yeah, it's mine. Item 6, consideration of possible action to approve final quantity changes and orders for the bridge and approaches for Cottonwood Creek DD number 3237, 9 hole.
So I just got one question on this. ODOT's already signed off on this. Why is it coming here?
Well, they just needed to get a final signature just as part of the deal. It doesn't necessarily have to be signed, but it's just part of the formality. It's a done deal, there isn't anything left.
That's kind of my point, right? They're gonna take the bridge back, if we don't sign it, then I know.
And it necessarily didn't have to be on the agenda, I just wanted to throw caution at the wind.
He wanted a reason to come see us.
That's absolutely correct.
Why didn't you bring, you should have brought donuts, I mean, the sheriff.
He's gotten
You made an
cheap.
impression.
Well, I didn't know we was gonna have all the highfalutin peoples here. Damn it, that all the meetings. You should've called me.
Yeah, the sheriff's always in there.
The sheriff's here. Last time I was here, wasn't here, I'd have brought donuts. I don't think so.
Need that donut shop.
There was another gentleman sitting in for you.
Oh.
He's down at Missy's.
If I'd known he was gonna be here, I'd have brought 2 dozen. Nice shoes.
In my pen. Thank you.
All right, sir.
I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, the motion carries. Item 7, consideration and possible action to approve a resolution accepting $414 donation from Kaleo Construction to District 2 for approximately 46 tons of rock to be placed on East Simmons Road.
I would make the motion to approve.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, the motion carries. Item 8, consideration of possible action to approve resolution accepting $521.70 donation from Eddie Fenton to District 3 for a culvert to be placed on Portland Avenue. It should be in between County Road 73 and 72.
I make the motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, the motion carries. Item 9, consideration of possible action to approve resolution accepting 100 from H.L. and Evelyn Pettit to District 2 to be used for general purposes. Is that donate to District 3 or?
Generally, that would be acceptable to the board, right?
Since we do the work in there, I think it's District 2.
I entertain a motion.
So moved.
A
Second.
motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, the motion carries.
I'll fill this one.
Okay. Thank you.
Item 10, consideration and possible action to approve a resolution accepting donation of 120 tons of 1.5 crusher run rocks from Blue Grade Trucking to be placed on Sewage Road by District 1.
So Chairman, the item originally came in, they were gonna do the 120, and I know I'm speaking on behalf of Marvin, and there's a reason. In the interim of me getting the agenda posted, Blue Grade Trucking increased their donation of rock to 400 tons. The resolution is for 400. I don't think we have an agenda problem. We're accepting the donation from them, and it's more than they originally set out. The resolution reflects 400 tons. I didn't catch the change after I posted the agenda. We had a time overlap from one to the other, and I apologize, Commissioner.
So without objection, I'd like for the agenda item to be changed to read 400 tons instead of 120 and to approve the resolution.
Certainly needs it. I'll second that.
Is that form of a motion, I'm assuming?
Yes, sir.
So I got a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this? I think it's very nice that these people
Very nice.
stepping up helping, so.
I agree.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, the motion carries. Item 11, consideration and possible action to approve a resolution disposing of equipment for District 1.
See, this is how they paid us insurance for this wreck 2007 Kenworth and trailer. We probably ought to go through the motion to dispose of it. Right. That's a good. So they can come pick it up. Or they're gonna want the money back.
Yeah, I'll move we approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, the motion carries. Item 3 is consideration of, item 12. Good Lord, I'm exhausted. Item 12, consideration and possible action to approve a resolution disposing of equipment for District 3. It's the power walk that we bought back in 1991 if the inventory was correct. And it quit working and they want more money to fix it than what I can buy a new one, so.
Already got your money's worth out of it. I'll make the motion.
So,
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, the motion carries. 13, consideration and possible action to approve 2021 maintenance agreement with Summit Mailing and Shipping for Treasurer's Office.
It's their maintenance agreements on their various mailing and printing of pieces of equipment.
so moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, motion carries.
This is about as exciting as it gets from here on in.
Dog and auctioneer. Sold. Sold. Item 14, consideration and possible action to identify Logan County legislative request to ACO.
So we all got this email letter, right, that said if we wanted to have legislative stuff going through, that we should submit it to ACO so we can come up and talk about it and defend it and all that neat stuff. So one of the things that we've talked about before is, you know, if Monty, if you send something up there unbeknownst to the board, and I send something up there unbeknownst to the board, I mean, there's 231 county commissioners in the state, and if we all do that, then, you know, it gets real confusing real fast, and you get commissioners in the same county arguing with one another about, you know, that sort of stuff. So I propose that we do this as a board. If we've got things that we want to see, that we bring them to the board and discuss it and present that to ACO as a board of commissioners, that we support a certain type of legislation. One of them would be the change in legislation for the reward fund. I think that we just talked, or that Troy just talked with Senator Hall about this morning. That one would be a good one for us, I think, to take up as a board and present. It affects the county commissioners, because when we talk about reward system for destruction of signs and county property, that's one of them that we really need to make sure gets clarified so it can be implemented. and Troy will tell us all that, probably one of the reasons it hasn't been implemented, we're one of the first counties that's trying to do this, because it doesn't have clear defined rules around the legislation. It's just open, right?
Another thing I think they need to look at is look in the whole system and see all the waste, then correct the waste, then give us the money that they're saving, and then we can fix our own roads.
Well, I wish I'd thought
There you
that.
go.
I'd like that.
I'm looking at statute 69, not statute, what is that, 69 and 622 needs to be repealed. It has to do with the way the border roads are treated when it comes to the interaction between the two counties for that maintenance. Certainly it needs to be half and half, as you have stated, as Commissioner Calvin has also stated. But also it says, and working on those, that in 621, that was the purpose of the legislation with who was that? Anyhow, that was the purpose of the legislation, was to make it equitable, so that there could be a variance from being 50-50 on the actual cost of the maintenance of those roads. In 2017, at that particular time, of course, all maintenance money that was accumulated through the gasoline sales tax or consumption tax was given to Oklahoma County because that was in their inventory. And now we have a change in that. So the idea, and I visited with Ray Vaughn about that, and I have emails, was to make that equitable instead of equal. The DA for Oklahoma County does not see it that way. She goes by 622, and there was quite a face-to-face confrontation between Ray Vaughn and that district attorney. But he felt like that 622 needed to be repealed so that 50-50 clause that she's going for is no longer in the equation. We can get an equitable agreement on the sharing of costs for upgrading those border roads, water routes specifically.
I think I understand what you're talking about. Is there a way that maybe you could bring a written change to the board so we can
Yes.
kind of look at it?
And I was going to work on that.
And then the whole board can kind of get behind it. But, if we're going to, I think they want us to send that to ACO relatively quickly, right?
Yes.
And so if it's something we can act on at our next meeting, I'd like to have an agenda item put on there to list and discuss legislative items that we want to move forward with this next year as a board.
Okay, so you're gonna ask everyone to bring their items to the
Yes.
next meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
That's kind of my recommendation.
Certainly. And I will also say that ACO, their board, when they go through their legislative request in that manner, it is commissioner by commissioner by commissioner. But we may be setting precedents, and I think it's a good idea to have it as a 3-member board that's requesting these. It may give it a little more clout, if you would.
Yeah.
So that's fine. I appreciate that.
I kind of questioned whether or not 7 or 8 county commissioners at ACO can represent 231 views.
I question that as well, which is why I'm usually at those meetings, yes.
So no action on this today, but we're all gonna bring it back on the 31st?
Yes.
I'm hearing you right. All righty, so no action on 14. Any more discussion on it?
I think that's right.
Yep.
Hearing none, we'll move to item 15. Consideration and possible action on resolution appointing requisitioning officers for various accounts.
I just have the one for Langston Fire Department.
Langston Fire Department.
There it is.
discussion on it? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Oh, sorry.
I have nothing for item 16.
Can you escort him out, please?
Gladly.
Across the street, holding for a day or two.
Item, no action on 16, so item 17 will be consideration and possible action on consent agenda items.
Mine, she's got a couple tags specific to you down here.
Add to that.
Copyright it. Can't say imagine that when it's not really pretty sick.
Which one?
Nowadays, you can't tell.
And I am assuming you each saw the email I sent yesterday about your CERB MV funds and the new account that has to be set up on each of you.
Yes.
Okay.
And thank you for doing that. So that was another thing I was curious about is, ACO sent out an email about, this has got to happen, but I knew you were already doing it, and so that's why I sent you a copy of it, wanted to know.
Yeah, and I kind of, the one thing that was in there about, and I understand it came from Cheryl at SANI, but I don't know that she understood that we're not going to do it that way. Where it said, if you had a project and there wasn't enough money in that new money, just divide it out on the one requisition. No, we're going to requisition for each account. They can share the project, but we're not going to try to run two account numbers on one requisition. We also are having to set up a new fund to receive our CARES Act reimbursement. And it's going to require, I don't know why they have to make things so difficult. We're going to have to receive it into the general fund in a new funding, well, not general fund, into a new fund. And then we are going to have to do fund-to-fund transfers to get the money back to the accounts that are being reimbursed. So it's going to create some paperwork that has to come to this board that I don't think it needed to be that difficult, but that's the instructions.
It's gotta be difficult, or we can't do it.
Right. And I sent you the email we received last week about how much we are potentially eligible to receive. Based on that, I would like you all to consider, I think I'll put it in the email, buying the individual fogger sprayers for each office. And we can just on our own run through rather than trying to expect Paul to cover all ground.
I saw that email. I don't have an issue with it.
Okay.
I think it's a good safety measure.
Well, and I've done a little research on, they actually wouldn't cost all that much, transfers.
Right.
And so, and like I said, we're gonna get reimbursed for it, so I'll pursue that then.
Yeah, Oklahoma County put it all in the jail.
So the windows would fall out.
Well, the windows wouldn't fall out if they wouldn't let the inmates kick on them.
There you go.
Tie the sheets together. Where does an inmate get that many sheets to start with? That's what I'm wondering. Because that was like a whole month's worth of sheets, right? That'd be a year's worth in our county too.
Blankets.
I wonder if his math was off or that a knot came loose. 1 to 2.
Oh, by the time you got some, yeah.
These are reports.
Yeah, he ran out of sheets,
Right.
didn't he? Yeah. Well, you know, just if I had to pick one of those, the folks in that county jail, their math skills are not all that sharp to start with, right? Or they probably wouldn't be in there, just saying.
You talking about my
Oklahoma
customers?
County, not Logan.
Oh, it's not going to defend my customers.
No, we were talking about the escape from Oklahoma County Jail, and the guy that fell, you know, what was it, 30 feet or so? And he said either his math was off or a knot coming tight, one of the two.
I think they were just guesstimating how long their sheets were.
Math was off.
And I was just saying math is not one of their strong suits.
And they didn't scratch it further than they thought.
I give him that, he went out there pretty bad. What happened?
Remember when that jail opened?
Mm-hmm. 1991.
You know, workmanship on that wasn't, the quality assurance on that was not present.
Sometimes the lowest bid will get you in trouble.
So you gotta get the
Lowest
lowest
bid will
and
get you in
best.
hot water.
It could.
Yeah, I just saw that happen.
Here?
Didn't say nothing.
No.
That was a saying that our trigger pullers used to say too. Always remember your firearm was made by the lowest bidder.
Yeah.
That's how we ended up with plastic rifles back in the 70s.
Better spend a little more.
I think that was more of a good old boy deal
That's
back when
money.
sheriff got kicked off the project and he didn't
I
blame.
don't like temporary fixes.
But that's what the government's good at,
No, I know it.
temporary
Right.
fixes, so
Scapegoat.
the sheriff's comments there. There's folks at the federal level that have made a career out of temporary fixing for the last 30 years. That's what they do best. Well, we need to fix this, and then we need to fix it again.
Brings the bacon on.
The whole term reform, you know, legislative reform comes to mind.
Probably we get more of the things that we do. Increase it.
Do you remember when Coltrane was first put on the survey project?
It was before me.
10 years
It
ago.
was
Yeah,
2012, when I looked back at the agreement, the initial agreement.
That was the agreement that I
That sure is
perused.
a long 5-year plan, you know?
That doesn't sound, yeah.
It's only, I mean, I'm asking questions, I really don't know the answer. It's only at 65% in that first month.
Design, I would hope it's closer to 90, but what I know is we require right away, and that's the last of my
65% plans.
And I remember those utilities being moved because it impacted the people in my district. You know, we acquired that district in 2012.
And I remember the right-of-way part because on Mike's side, I got to move some fences back.
Yes, you did.
And it was okay. I mean, we didn't have to reimburse, we just moved them back a little bit for them, you know?
Hey, sometimes you do it right, you gotta take your time.
Mr. Chairman, that bid opening is on the 20th, so next Thursday.
Next Thursday.
That's when AT&T came in and ran their like, no, it
I
was.
guess, can you send a list of projects on that
7
lady?
years ago.
Is that the only, I mean, how many projects will be on that lady?
Oh, really?
Oh, I don't, it'll be a number. We generally average 30.
Monty, you gonna show up and yell hallelujah when they approve it?
I don't know, man, I'll be glad when it's done, though.
I know.
No, no doubt.
Oh, by the way, speaking of 5-year plans, your 3 bridges that you gave to me,
Only one of them was mine.
Okay, so one of the 3 bridges over there, so I had Cimarron Electric call me and said, do you know we can't get to our power lines over there? I said, no, they're not my power lines. He goes, well, it's your road. I said, well, we closed that road because the bridges are out. Well, when are you gonna fix it?
Yeah, I don't have.
We got into that discussion.
Call Shelley.
And then he said, well, I guess what you're telling me is if I need to get in there during a storm, I just need to rent a bulldozer and go through that farmer's field. And I said, well, knowing that farmer like I do, he's got a 12 gauge and a 30-06. So that probably wouldn't, you probably want to coordinate with him first.
I'm gonna throw out, since we're doing, little fun fact. Part of the information I received from OHMS with CARE stuff, but they looked at the counties as a whole, population-wise, and then they took out the population of every town and city within that county to leave a balance in unincorporated areas. So I found it really interesting that the census estimate for current countywide population is at 48,011. When you take out all the cities and the towns to get down to the unincorporated area, population is 31,035.
Just in one district, maybe.
No, that would be unincorporated
No,
area of the county.
I know, but I'm talking about real people, not made up numbers.
Okay,
So that was over the last 9 years?
that would be
Or
as
that
of
now,
right now.
but that would be over the
They have
last
the
9 years?
census showing the estimate at 48,011 countywide.
Okay.
Okay, the official census is at 41,100 and something, so. But
I understand.
Didn't sound right to me.
My understanding is that the last 9 years, that's 32%
I'm thinking it's about 10,000 off.
unincorporated population.
it could be. I mean, if these numbers, and they're saying their census numbers, has us going from 41,000 to 48,000 in the last 10 years.
That sounds better. I mean, more like it in an incorporated
Well,
side.
that includes the whole county. If you take out Cashin and Cedar Valley and Guthrie to get down to the population of the unincorporated areas.
Because Cedar Valley's 228 people really add up.
They have the unincorporated area of the county at 31,035. Cedar Valley, they have at 330.
Oh, we've grown.
Cashin at 241. Cimarron City at 175, Coyle at 372, Crescent at 1561, Guthrie at 11,661, Langston at 1860, Marshall at 307, Meridian at 43, Mulhall at 259, Orlando at 167, and they have those in Cashin as parts because part of them goes into another county as well.
Well, that shocks me about Meridian being up to 33, that's awesome. It's growing.
So that left the unincorporated balance of Logan County at 31,035. And I didn't plot out all
You don't want it
77, but at a glance, it looks like our
There's another
31,000
number.
actually puts us in about the top 5 of the state.
Right. The increase.
I found it interesting.
You ought to go back and look at the 2020 or 2010 census and see what that was. Boy, it's incredible how we're getting that urban sprawl out here. I think now it's
Just threw it out as fun facts,
great.
because I'm always coming up with some sort of,
I just want to say, not for the record, ma'am, your idea of fun and mine may differ a bit.
now, you and I have discussed this. You know I deal with those minutia things.
Yes, you do, and you do it well, I might add.
Thank you.
You said manure things?
Those two. Now, I could really throw out what entered my mind when you said that, but
Oh, please
It's a
don't.
family.
I'm just considering.
Yeah, there's young people watching at home.
my location and the specifics of my job.
I move we approve the consent agenda.
I have a motion and a second on the consent agenda items. Any further discussion on them? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, motion carries. Item 18, consideration of possible action on approving claims for payment for August 2020.
Lord, how much fun can you handle?
I just quit trying.
I wasn't gonna say a word, Marvin.
You mean you can't win for losing?
I'm not sure about the losing part, but
Listen, it's going to happen. You make every effort.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you see that it's not considered normal operating procedure, so that we don't even try and make any efforts, that's the difference. 'Cause
Look at there.
it's going to happen.
Not like when it's every one of them.
Exactly. Not when it happens because we just don't care and we're flippant about the duty.
And you can tell the sheriff doesn't care. You ought to jump on him. No.
Oh, no. I've already had a meeting with him once this week. I am sure he's tired of hearing from
I'm
me.
sure he is.
Next hard to sit in his chair.
I was thinking you had the best seat in the house.
Mr. Troy, I gotta sit in a little soft chair. My backside's a little sore.
Well, if that be the case, I'd do something about that under Sheriff Yours then. He shouldn't be treating you that way.
Certainly looks like you got laces squared away.
Working on it.
You still, I know it's a work in progress. Just like all of us are.
Hey Troy, just because I'm thinking about it, did you ever have time to check on that P card deal, raising that limit? Talk to the auditor about that.
I'll make you another note. Guys, I have had so much outside stuff. I'm sorry. I'm still playing catch up.
I'm just asking. I don't think about it until we start signing.
You can fire me, you know.
how's that work?
Yeah, how does that work?
Well,
So they get the supplement on the first one.
Ooh, poor election board. What's the Thursday? They just,
I said, yeah, we'll.
I see.
but you gotta look at all the other stuff I do accomplish. I mean, I'm gonna have some, you know.
Are they?
Like if I had short-term memory loss on that, you know they do. If it's right. Never mind. You don't look at the past.
Look, I'm not infallible and all I can say is I try and my intentions are always good.
I know.
The road to perdition.
We're all in that boat.
And then I get mad at myself when I realize that, you know, I had that little stumble of
I
failing and
know.
I don't take it well.
Hindsight is really stinky.
I just can't see where the auditor would have an issue with that. I mean, that's a,
Well, your question wasn't about raising the limit though. Your question was about using it for an
Right.
online auction.
right, well, But you gotta raise the limit to start.
Gotta raise the limit to be able to do that.
Yeah, well, either that or we gotta buy a shovel instead of a bulldozer on the auction, yeah.
Listen, I'm still glad we did the P-part, but it has presented some real struggles for us that we didn't anticipate.
In office, out of office.
Had to bring that up, didn't I? Speaking of that, audit results. That's just the bear we don't want to kick anymore, Pope? Okay.
Listen, Marvin, I figure this way, they'll show up when they show up. I've heard nothing.
Okay, maybe they just forgot about us, which is okay with me.
Well, and that's kind of the direction I was going. I'm like,
No
okay.
news is good news.
It was either so good that they're still sitting down there stunned and you know, speechless, or it's so bad.
I think they're still scratching their head over the equipment trust.
I suspect that might be, but no one's ever questioned me about it, so I don't know. But I have not heard a word. I can tell you they've already started doing some work on fiscal year 20 because I got a bill for it.
Well, they don't mind sending them.
And because we have this fancy website with all this information out there, it's allowed them to start working using the information from the website.
Get your time shortened for.
Everything on the internet's true.
Of course.
You waiting on me?
I ain't no hurry.
Okay,
You done?
almost. Are we there yet, Daddy? Where are we at, claims? I move we approve claims.
I'll second Marvin's motion. We got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, motion carries.
No.
9 on 19. Awesome.
20 we done?
We got.
Item 21, any citizen desiring to be heard.
Bobby.
He's not a citizen. Doesn't live
I'm
here.
not a citizen of Logan County.
Hey, you can still get up and talk to us.
I'm not
We don't
currently a
care.
citizen in Canadian County.
We'll jump up and tell you, say what you want to say, brother.
You're a citizen.
All right, hearing none.
Shut
You got
them
something,
up.
Bobby?
No, I'm really good, guys. I'm glad to be here today, and it was informative.
Thank you, Bobby. I really believe that. Item 22, comments, announcements, questions by the board. Mike, got anything?
I want to really give my appreciation to District 1, Oklahoma County, because they have now paved a half mile of Waterloo from Peebly going west, which is a dead-end road. And that covers up a chip seal road that was placed back by Willa Johnson, who was commissioner at the time. So I do really appreciate it. That's all I have.
All right, Marvin?
As far as appreciation, I just wanted to thank you again, Monty, for you and your folks up in District 3 helping us that first mile of Broadway. And also, our laydown machine broke about 1/10 of a mile short of finishing up that road. And your fellows were down at our shop with ours. Actually, your guys got more dirty than my guys did, changing the conveyor belt out and getting it back in, and looking forward to completing that last 1/10 next week. And again, I really appreciate the help, and whatever we can do to help you guys as you got roads coming up north. We've got about 3 more miles down south to do this fall, and I'll get those on the schedule, but thanks again.
Well, that's what we're supposed to do, help one another.
That's right. And if you need somebody, I do now have a few of my truck drivers come back from medical. And anyhow, if you need some help, let us know, and we'll see what we can do as well.
All righty.
Do you think that's, I mean, I'm kind of looking at the timeline, we're needing to get some potholes done. You think you,
On the laydown machine,
yes,
I think we're gonna do another 1/10 of a mile for Marvin.
right?
I got, City of Crescent got a REAP grant and they're needing to get it done.
Yes,
Before
sir.
they lose it, so I was gonna go help them do that. Then I got a 1/2 mile I was gonna lay, then I'll be done with it myself.
I've got a mile, the mile off Waterloo Road on Broadway, we need to overlay that. I got a mile of Santa Fe off Waterloo Road North, we need to overlay that one. And then later I've got 2 1/2 miles that need to get done.
Right.
I mean, if you,
You gonna fix
Yeah.
potholes?
you're gonna fix potholes. with
Right,
the laydown machine?
there's some sections that have collapsed because of all the rains that we've had.
So real not a
And
pothole, then you're gonna grind down.
Well, yeah, the last one we did was 400 feet. And for 400 feet, yes, we would
So I don't
like
call
to
that a
have a
pothole.
laydown. Well, that's a pothole.
road repair.
It's part of the road
That's a
that,
big
you know,
pot,
like
that's all I'm
I say,
saying.
we got all those sand rock, you know, that hold that water and come out. You're aware of that. I mean, that's why I have the Prairie Road after you did. So,
Maybe we do need 2 laydown machines.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, well,
but that, I mean, I would like to move over and get the City of Crescent REAP grant. I hate for them to lose the funding, so.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh, I
We don't
agree
wanna
with
do
that. Has that already been extended once?
Yeah, I think it has.
Okay.
Because it actually was gonna do it last year,
I
and
see. I
they
see.
wasn't quite ready.
Yeah,
so,
we have that Any Meridian mile that's coming up here.
yeah.
But I think that'll be awarded here just shortly. So whenever, there's a 1.5 years we can get that in.
Anything else?
I'm good.
Comments, announcements? Marvin?
Item 23, I move we approve.
Second.
I got a motion and a second on adjournment. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.